So I'm a consultant at a Big Four firm. I'm also a dancer. So I have a bit of a Hannah Montana life going on. And I want to tell you how, the practicalities of it, and any issues that I've come across. I want to make this video very candid, very honest, so that if you're in the same situation or you're just curious about whether it's possible to have a side hustle while being in a consulting job, so that you just get a perspective from someone doing it and trying to juggle all of this stuff. So first of all, what do I do? I've been a dancer as long as I can remember, and it's always been a passion of mine, a hobby of mine, since kindergarten, I think, as far as I can remember. And for the past 3 or even 4 years now, I've been part of this professional troupe doing Indian dance at events, music videos, or even bigger projects like movies. So it's a big part of my life, and I still do it as a hobby as well, just for fun. I go for dance classes every week. Usually takes up 2 or 3 evenings of my week, and then when performances come along, I do that as well professionally, so that's another stream of income that I have. It's not huge in the grand scheme of things, but it brings me so much joy, and whenever I get a chance, I love to perform. So when I joined consulting, that was one of the biggest things on my mind, is how can I keep this going while working in a very demanding job, and the job that is known to have wacky work-life balance sometimes. So I'm gonna call out a few things to bear in mind if you're in the same situation, a few things that I've had to deal with. Number one is it's not impossible. So I'm doing this now. However, it's taken me a lot of steps to get proper approval and sign off for this to happen. In the contract, it's said that you're not allowed to have secondary employment unless you have explicit green light from QRM, and that's Quality Risk Management, I believe, and then also the partner of your department. So when I just joined the firm, I had to initiate the process of saying to the partner, hey, I just joined your department as an analyst, and there's this thing that I do on the side. I'm a Bollywood dancer, I perform, it takes up this much time, usually in a month. It's an important part of my life and I'm really keen to keep it. I'm gonna do my best to prioritize client work and basically not let it affect my full-time job. That's kind of the deal, is that you have to make your secondary employment stuff work around this job and not affect it. So that was the thing to keep in mind. Number one is formally you have to let them know, and some firms would be more flexible than others with allowing you to have essentially what's another job. Number two is boundaries. As I said, I love dance. It's not just a job for me, it's also an absolute passion and source of joy and community. I have made so many friends there now because I've been doing Indian dance for 10 years, and I do other styles as well, partner dancing, I do heels now, which is super fun. So it's always been a huge part of my week. And when it comes to dance classes, I have my routine. There are particular days when I go, usually it's Tuesday and Thursday. So whenever I join a consulting project, it's always been a bit of an effort for me to proactively communicate with my team, with my new manager, because as you will be aware, in consulting, you work from project to project and your team changes every time. It's a bit of a process to go through that, adjustment phase where you get to know the people that you're working with. For me, introducing myself to the team in terms of how we're going to work together, what do we need to be aware of, that always includes a point on dancing and how important it is to me, and that on Tuesdays and Thursdays I have to log off by 6 to make it in time. I get it out there, I get it on the table and say that, can we make it work? Because often in consulting, you kind of don't have predictable working hours. A lot of the time, a crisis can happen where a client demands something, and unless your manager is really good at pushing back and really protecting your work-life balance, it does sometimes happen that you have to unexpectedly stay late. So I make an explicit effort to not let that happen on the days that really matter to me. Thus, point number 2 is setting boundaries is super important, and you probably can't combine 2 things unless you're very firm and very strict with setting those boundaries. Thing number 3, and it's a bit of a tricky one, it's probably the trickiest one. Sometimes I've had situations where in my dance life, I get an opportunity to do something, but it requires me to be flexible and dedicate some of the time that's usually the full-time job time, so the 9 to 5. And this happened on 2 occasions most recently. One was I got to be part of a movie, which was really exciting. However, that movie took about 10 days, and that's 10 days of leave that I had to take. Very sporadic timings, and they've also changed as well because schedules change, plans of the production team change sometimes, actors fall ill, so things happen. And that industry is very, very flexible, so people have change of plans all the time. It's kind of the norm. However, in consulting, you have to be very good with planning ahead so that resourcing and people who basically have a look and just understand who's staffed on which project and when, who's becoming available for client work soon, and just making sure that everyone is as utilized as possible. They need to have visibility of the next 3 to 6 months, ideally. So you can see how this can get tricky. Essentially, I've been very lucky so far that the people that I've worked with, at least someone in the team, tends to be very receptive and very understanding of how amazing those opportunities can be. So when I got the chance to be in the movie, I had to be very transparent with the person whose project I was going to join that, hey, I have this very sporadic leave coming up. Here are the exact dates. It's already booked in. I am gonna take it. I don't make it a question of whether I'm gonna take it. I just say, these are my dates. Can we work around them? If I join the project, would that be okay? More often than not, people are willing to work around it, but it can become a bit of a challenging conversation to bring up because you're being an inconvenience to the team. So that's just something to deal with, really. And it's the question of, is it worth it for you? For me, it is. And I'd rather have a rich life with those two, halves combined than try and kind of follow the, kind of being a good girl in a corporate way and not being inconvenient in any way or, not having any change of plans. Because really, consulting has change of plans too. A lot of the time. It's a very demanding job. So I'm keen to be getting just as much from my life as consulting is getting out of me at the moment. That's probably one way of putting it. Yeah, and then another case I had recently, and actually if you're interested, you can watch my previous vlog, my latest vlog of a day in the life where I had to shift my hours to working earlier because I had to log off at 5 to go to a dance rehearsal for a show that I just did. And logging off at 5 is not exactly a thing. It might be a thing a bit more so in public sector, but at the moment I'm in private sector and it's a very intense project. So 6 is kind of best case scenario most of the days for me at the moment. So I was very aware that I can't just log off at 5 and go. I need to be very proactive with communicating it. So I did. Luckily, my manager is amazing and she was very, very understanding. But it did take me offering to log on early and starting at 8 or 8:30 to just make up for that time because I know the team needs it. So things like that happen as well. And it's just a matter of kind of navigating it case by case. And I do think that people in consulting generally have to be people who are quite used to change because it's so all over the place. You're sold on a project, then the project doesn't happen, the project gets delayed by 2 months. All true stories from me. It's probably kind of good job to also demand flexibility from when you need it. Yeah, if you're in the same situation, let me know how you're managing it, whether your team has been supportive, and yeah, how do you do it? Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.